All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is honestly a complete masterclass in problem solving, perfectly disguised as a classic children's fable. Yep, we're talking about the cap seller and the monkeys. On the surface, it's just a simple, fun little tale, right? But man, when you really look at it, it is just packed with this brilliant lesson about conflict resolution and, well, emotional control. So let's jump right in and see exactly how a super tricky situation turns into this awesome testament of quick thinking. Our story kicks off exactly how a lot of great adventures do, on a blistering hot sunny day. I mean, just picture this bright summer afternoon in a really lush green forest. We've got our protagonist here, right? A friendly, hardworking cap seller, and he's traveling on foot all the way to a nearby town to sell his merchandise. Now imagine carrying this massive, heavy basket just filled to the brim with goods under that blazing sun. Seriously exhausting work. The heat is literally radiating, his basket is getting heavier by the minute, and then, boom. Right there on the path, he spots the absolute perfect oasis, a massive, lush, incredibly shady tree. It is literally the ideal spot to just take a quick breather from that intense midday heat. To really ground ourselves in the story, the original artwork we're exploring today is just fantastic. Notice the charming, bright 2D cartoon illustrations. We've got the cap seller sporting this distinct checkered shirt, a blue vest, and a super bright blue and red cap of his own. And actually, if you look really closely up in the lush green branches of that massive tree, you can already spot our antagonists. Yep, there's a whole troop of playful brown monkeys with these highly expressive faces just kind of hanging out and watching them. The whole thing with that bright yellow sun and the clear blue sky, it just perfectly sets that warm, summery scene. So, our weary traveler basically does what any of us would do in that situation, right? He decides it's time for a well deserved rest. He wanders over to that beautiful big tree, wipes the heavy sweat right off his brow, and gently places his huge basket of colorful caps down on the ground right next to him. He plops down, leans back against that wide, sturdy trunk, and man, within moments, the shade and just pure exhaustion completely take over. He falls into this incredibly deep, peaceful sleep, completely oblivious to those curious little eyes watching him from the canopy up above. But hey, that peace? Yeah, it definitely doesn't last long. While the cap seller is just snoring away, the monkeys decide it is absolutely playtime. And here is the exact sneaky little sequence of their heist. First, they quietly climb down from the high branches of the tree. Second, they creep right over to the basket and eagerly snatch up all those wonderful, colorful caps. I mean, the reds, the blues, the yellows, the whole shebang. Third, with their stolen prizes in hand, they quickly scurry right back up into the safety of the tree. And fourth, they proudly plop those caps right on their heads. Seriously, just imagine these playful monkeys, kind of giggling and chattering softly, just completely thrilled with their colorful new accessories. Eventually, the cap seller wraps up his nap. He wakes up, gives a good long stretch, and reaches down to grab his basket to, get back on the road to town. But the second his hand touches the bottom of that woven reed basket, total panic sets in. The realization hits him like a ton of bricks. He is staring into a completely empty basket. I mean, all of his merchandise is just gone. So, heart completely pounding, he frantically scans the path, and then he looks up. And right there, sitting on the branches above him, are all the monkeys, just staring right back down at him, wearing literally every single one of his colorful caps. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because the escalating conflict between the man and the monkeys highlights the absolute core mechanic of our story, and that is mimicry. The cap seller, which, let's be honest, is completely understandable, gets incredibly angry. He shakes his fist. The monkeys? Well, they just mimic him. The cap seller gets so incredibly frustrated that he actually picks up a small stone from the ground and hurls it up toward the tree. But does this actually solve his problem? Absolutely not. The text tells us the monkeys just get irritated right back. They perfectly mimic his aggressive action by grabbing fruits from the tree and chucking them right back down at him. Every single angry action he takes is met with an equally frustrating reaction from the monkeys. Which brings us to a total standstill. The cap seller is fuming, he's getting literally pelted with fruit, and his caps are still stuck way up in a tree where he absolutely cannot reach them. Let's actually take a quick pause right here. If you were standing in the cap seller's shoes, just looking up at a bunch of stubborn monkeys wearing your hats, what would you do? Like, how can he possibly get his caps back when just getting angry is clearly only making the whole situation worse? Well, getting angry didn't work. Throwing stones definitely didn't work. So our cap seller forces himself to just stop. He takes a deep breath, calms his anger down, and he actually starts to think. Seeing their reaction to the stone, he realizes a really crucial pattern here. The monkeys are doing exactly what he does. They are perfectly, flawlessly copying his every single move. And right there, boom, he has this brilliant light bulb moment. He suddenly knows exactly how to use this mimicking behavior completely to his advantage. This brilliantly illustrates the turning point of the story. So how exactly does he build this into a clever plan? Well, here is exactly what he does. First, he reaches up and takes off his very own cap. Second, he throws it firmly right down onto the ground. And what do the monkeys do? Well, just as he predicted, they immediately mimic him. Literally, every single monkey takes off their colorful cap and throws it straight down to the ground. It's just this shower of red, blue, and yellow hats. The wise cap seller wastes absolutely no time. He quickly gathers up all his caps, places them safely back into his basket, gives a big old smile, and walks away totally happily toward the town. He completely outsmarted them without having to climb a single branch. Real quick, before we wrap things up, I actually want to highlight this fantastic little detail that's tucked into the corner of the original source material. There's this neat teacher's note that suggests a really fun way to bring this story to life off the page. It basically recommends arranging some caps beforehand, having 4 or 5 kids act as the mischievous monkeys, and one act as the clever cap seller, all while someone narrates the events. Honestly, it's just a brilliant way to physically act out that whole concept of action, reaction, and mimicry that we just saw play out in the story. So the really crucial point of all this is captured in the explicit moral of the story. Wisdom helps in difficult situations. And, this isn't just about monkeys and hats, right? It's a pretty powerful reminder for all of us. Think about it. When the cap seller got angry and just acted out on his frustration by throwing stones, it got him absolutely nowhere. I mean, it literally just got him hit with fruit. But when he used his wisdom, when he took a deep breath, actually stopped to observe the situation, and thought creatively, he solved what looked like a completely impossible problem with one single, simple action. Wisdom is basically choosing to use your brain instead of just, losing your temper. As we finish up our explainer today, I really want to leave you with a thought on exactly why fables like this endure for so long. It's a universal reminder for all of us, no matter our age, honestly. When we're met with just totally irrational frustration, do we throw a stone, or do we pause and actually look for the clever solution? Thank you so much for joining me today as we unpacked this absolute classic. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.